Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome and thank you so much for joining me this evening on Talk and Sip. This is today is the 26th of February, and a mammoth day for the world as to what is happening in the world today. Um, we come tonight again with another session. And ladies and gentlemen, of course, I'm watching the news at the same time, seeing what is happening there in Ukraine, see if President Putin is going to call a ceasefire, or if the Ukrainians are going to surrender. But one of the most important questions that needs to be asked is this: how are you prepared? How are you prepared if there is a full-scale war which touches the whole world? How will you be prepared about that? And that's going to be a very interesting discussion tonight. Tonight, I made an invitation out for persons in Jamaica, invitation to the UIC, the United Independent Congress, to come on. Offered invitation to the People's National Party representative and to the JLP to come in and to say, how would Jamaica actually be prepared if there is what should I say, a full-on scale war? We have seen the issues in regarding the students in Ukraine, how they have been impacted. Now, it's very interesting to see, what is it? I'm in the UK. Am I ready to dash back to Jamaica? If you're in the USA and it happens there and Putin gets crazy and goes mad, will you be dashing back to Jamaica or so? Those are the big questions, I would say. But yeah, so without further ado, let us just have this discussion today and just go for it. O'Neill, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Interesting times, isn't it?
It is, as the great Robert Nesta Marley says, rise up this morning and so much trouble in the world right now.
The interesting thing is that we have been for the past 2 years. We have been talking about COVID, and we've been talking about what will happen when COVID finally leaves, when COVID finally go, and just as the Prime Minister of the UK, Boris Johnson, actually said, you can no more isolation if you got COVID, treat it as a cold, no more mask, just go on about your business. On the 24th, and waboom, we are now gone into something else, full scale, possible a World War III, What do you say?
See, that's what they say. The news yesterday is just that. There's always new and interesting developments, and we have seen over the last almost a week where Ukraine has become the center of attention from every corner of the world, from Paris to Germany to Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, but as I would say, the only thing I have for the folks in Ukraine and the people of Ukraine is my prize, because you and I are here, but it pains me to see what they're going through. So reach out to if you have family or friend there, reach out. If you have friends here that have Ukrainian friends and family, reach out, because it pains me to see what the Ukrainian people are going through at this time.
Yeah. Ani, what are you drinking, sir? Are you drinking anything?
It's a combination, some ginger beer, but I do have some wine.
Yes. I think is the music loud? Let me know if the music is loud. Is it chilled?
That's good. Chill.
Yeah. I think I'm like you, because as we get younger, we got to maintain a certain thing. So I just have a little dash of wine as well.
Yeah.
Cheers for the, and then I always make sure I got my sparkling water with my crystal punch.
Yeah.
So ladies and gentlemen, if you can share the show tonight on YouTube. It's also on Instagram. Well, not on Instagram. We're not on Instagram. It's on Instagram. I just put it on Instagram with my face there. But it's more direct in person. So come on to the YouTube channel. And if you want to come into the show, I'll post a link as well. But only tonight, I know I'm going to have the president of the UIC United Independent Congress, which is Mr. Joseph Patterson, and one of his colleagues will come on tonight, because I felt it was important to hear a person's views, and especially those Ukrainians, as we are Jamaicans, you know. I think when they talk about a war, everybody tends to look back home, isn't it? Where's the home now? Where do I dash to?
Yeah.
You know. Let me see if I can bring in Vita. Hey Vita, how you doing?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm cool in the Malibu, you know, and O'Neill is back. O'Neill came back for you.
O'Neill, it is so nice to see you. I was a little worried because I know when there's a war, you are there. So I was a little worried. Nice to see you, my brother. I know that you're with us. Cheers.
Cheers.
What does it look like ginger beer? Like you're having ginger tea. What's that?
It's ginger beer, but you don't know what is also added to the ginger.
Oh, there you go. There you go. He's always so diplomatic, isn't he? Huh?
That's like a secret recipe or something like that.
There you go. It's probably what we call fermented ginger, right?
Yes.
I remember growing up back home when
the sorrel.
When my mother sometimes used to make these original ginger beer, and it was wicked, man. You know. And sometimes we used to go on some sort of trips or what. You got this ginger beer, the real authentic stuff in those, like those true juice bottles. After it's finished, you mix it with you put it in those bottles, you know.
So those stories that was told at Comsey about you coming to school drunk, it's true.
Me, O'Neill, man. No, I used to break dance. I have some students sometimes. If there's on the tree, there's always silver. Cydia was here. You know, that was here. But Vita, what's your take on the what's happening now worldwide and in your profession, actually?
Well, it's very disturbing as a citizen of America right now, and also I have dual citizenship, so with Jamaica. So, you know, it's very disturbing. Worried that this might escalate into more than what a lot of us are thinking. NATO going to step in and stop it. But one situation that at work, because I'm in the medical field, a lot of you guys know I work in the medical field. I'm very involved in the planning and the executive part of it. And what we are doing, we are actually planning as far as around, and we're not planning as if, we're planning like when, which is disturbing to me because the leadership over me, like at a certain level, they have more information than us. So if we're planning, so when this situation happened, we're making sure we have certain situation in place, is disturbing to me. So what do? I am thinking now, then I need to plan for my family. You know, I honestly start shopping for canned goods. Luckily, I live near a pond, so water might not be a factor to me, you know. But I'm planning. I'm buying up canned goods right now, and certain situation, things that I know that's going to be needed. If I'm saying if, but the way that planning going on around me and location where I live, it seems like it's when.
Yeah. So a friend of mine asked me the other day, should we be buying toilet papers and
no
napkins?
No, we shouldn't. We shouldn't be going back to, what was it, 2020, where you couldn't find anything on the shelves. You know, as you know, Vita, before you came on, Sabra and I were talking. You know, our hearts go out to the citizens, the people in Ukraine.
Yes.
I don't believe it will escalate. The United States and Europe is going to try to prevent a hot war because it will get messy. NATO is not going to go in. I think you're going to have, once, I guess right now, nobody understand what Putin's end game is. Obviously, you know, he has set a red line, and he's been telling us this for 25 years. Now, the question for the rest of the world is, how do we get, you know, Putin and Zelensky to the table so you could have a ceasefire, right? because I don't believe the people of the Ukraine have a month. I don't think they have 2 weeks, because I believe the last time I checked, there were about 30 miles from Kiev, the capital city, and you see all the people in bomb shelters. So I think the U.S. and NATO is gonna try best not to create a hot war. Now, you've seen sanctions, and those sanctions are not gonna hurt Putin at all. And the reason being, the world is so connected, right? And when we were talking about Jamaica, those sanctions are going to directly impact Jamaica, because the aluminum plant in Jamaica, one of the biggest purchaser of that is the Russians, right? So we just have to figure out how to try to de-escalate this. I've said for years, and actually, Silver and I was talking. I actually wrote my thesis, my graduate thesis, on the next war in Europe, which I said it was going to be the expansion on NATO. And when Putin told us 25 years ago that Ukraine was their Cuba, he was serious. So what I've said to folks, just look at history. When the Russians tried to put a base in Cuba, they almost had a world war. So I think we just have to figure out how to escalate it. And I think one of the way we could do that is to go back a couple of years where we say Ukraine will be a neutral state. We'll demilitarize Ukraine, get the Russian to back off, get the Russian to give up Crimea, the Donbass region, and just understand that. The other piece I would say, Russia only, and by the way, this is not Russian talking points or whatever. You could just look at history. Russia submarine base is right below Ukraine. So for them, they see it as a strategic interest. So I think we need to get to the table to making sure we're helping the people of Ukraine, because I don't want to see, what could happen if they move into Kiev.
But I have a question for you, O'Neill. About 10 minutes ago, Germany decided to send tanks.
1,000. Yeah. No, well,
anti-tank.
Anti-tank. What is it on the? It's not tank.
Anti-tank missiles.
Anti-tank missiles. Vita, yes.
Missile is missile.
Anti-tank.
It is what it is. You can use words all you want, but it is what it is.
No,
Vita.
That's a big difference. They didn't send tanks. They send anti-tank missile. There's a big distinction there.
Okay, as a CIA in the American government, O'Neill, can you please explain that to me as a citizen who do not know what
Boy, you're calling people out there, the Vita. No, tank is you mechanized tanks. It's just a lot of these tanks are armored, and I think you see the U.S. sent the javelins in, and I think the Germans, they're sending in anti-tank missile.
Okay, and that's what I asked when you said NATO not going in. America today, as of today, 14,000 was deployed in Germany and surrounding areas, whereas in Venezuela, Russian is starting to put planes or whatever there. So how is it not going to happen when all these, and this is a black female talking, old white men decided that this is what they're doing? So how can you sit there and say it's not going to happen and it's going to de-escalate?
It's not going to. It will be too painful for the world for it to escalate.
Well, does Putin look like he's scared? Does he care what pain the world is facing?
No, I think we're, if you go back, and actually I found it, there was a article 2012. It says
I love it. You're always so prepared.
The beginning of the end of Putin. That was 2012, right? The thing is that he has an objective. I think we got to get the Western leaders to go figure out how to, get him at the table to have the discussion. As I said, the sanctions won't work because, if we get into a hot situation and they sort of push back, there's a lot of impact. We just talked about Jamaica, right? They're the largest exporter of fertilizer, palladium, right? Timber, all the minerals, 70% of the neon gases actually come out of Russia, right? So, when you look at the tit for tat, the people who are going to be hurt is the underrepresented, underdeveloped countries. So I think it's in the best interest to sort of get to the table. I do believe you'll see, the Europeans pushing hard for a ceasefire. Because also remember, Europe gets 43% of their gas from Russia.
So sanctioning them, let's say, do hurt us, US and other countries, but you will be cutting off their finance. Do Russia really care about their finance right now? No,
No,
they don't. So again, as a Black woman saying, that's bullshit the white men are talking, because to say that, oh, we're going to cut off their finance, so therefore that will hurt them, but we have to think about it, because if we sanction them, then it's going to hurt us more. People are dying. And the fact that you have said, if you do this, then this is what we'll do. And Russia said, okay, fine. So I'm going to do it. And he did. Are you still sitting there talking while people are dying?
Vita, can I just ask you, you said something very crucial there. You distinguish that as a Black woman. Why you distinguish as a Black woman? Because
it's all white men that's out there playing with people's life. And this has been a trend that's been going on for years, that they have done situations that hurt us, and I don't want to stray from where we are and what we're talking about, but the fact that it hurt us more. This war gonna set most of us back. The third world country is gonna be set back. These are Black people right now in Ukraine. They transfer people from Ukraine to Poland, and they took off babies and women and children, then white men, and then all the Black people don't have papers and don't have the right. So they're sitting there and they're trying to have nowhere to go. That was the last news I heard. So yes, in every situation, it affects us Black people the way that it affects other races.
And I think, we just have to be careful how we make it a race, because, the people of Ukraine, they're Europeans, white Europeans, they're hurting. We do have a lot of Africans that are studying. We have Jamaicans there studying.
Yes.
So I think all around, what it comes down to is war is evil, war is painful, and the citizens who are the one that are impacted the most. So the questions for our Western leaders is, how do we get the Russians to the table, right, quickly, so we could stop the movement because our words is not going to help the people in Ukraine. But you have Boris Johnson there, you have Biden, you have Cole, you have all these leaders. Again, NATO is not going to go take on Russia. Russia is a nuclear country. We're not going to take them on. Yes, we'll send troops into Europe to shore up NATO, because an attack on NATO triggers what you call Article 5. Attack on one is attack on all.
Right.
So I think you're seeing where they're doing everything to ensure it doesn't expand beyond Ukraine.
Okay, Oni, let me just stop for a second there. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for joining us on Talking Stick this evening. I'm with O'Neill and with Peter Ferguson. I'm hoping to be joined by the leader of the United Independent Congress, Mr. Joseph Pattison, and another gentleman. I'm hoping to get Jody Murray will be in. For those of us who are on Instagram, it's not streaming on Instagram. You'll just see my face only, but this is just an invitation for you to come over onto the YouTube, where you can see the full shebang, as the Instagram will be shut down very shortly. And also for those on YouTube, remember to like and share. Facebook also on Instagram, do like and share. Welcome, Jody Murray. Your colors fit my dynamics there. Red and the red there with my colors. How are you doing today?
No, blue is my color. Is red your color?
Well, no, red. Can't you see a red there? Can you guys see a red?
It seems
Oh,
like
yeah,
orange.
I'm seeing that.
It seems like orange, but I'm going to assume it's red. And red is for the America. So thank you, Jody, for representing the American people also. With the
That
blue
was not
and
my
red,
intention.
With the blue and red, and Silborn signified with the white. And I have the military color on, and O'Neill is staying neutral. That's all it is. So let's
Hi,
call it what it
O'Neill.
is.
It's been a while.
I know how you doing.
Vita set the stage there. Just take it over.
She just know. Like,
Like enough Jamaicans, just enough. Me a Jamaican sometimes.
At least you didn't
Oh,
have
boy.
orange and green.
Who has orange and green?
I said, at least you didn't come on with orange and green.
Well,
Less
Right,
of
you
a
came out with blue and red.
yeah.
Oh, well, you know.
Let me just say hi. Let me just say hi to persons. Thank Latoya Wolf, Good Karma, Christopher Jones, for coming on. Scotty, peace to the panel. Thank you very much. Somebody said, don't let the government make a lot of money through war. UIC, Benita Crawford as well, and Michelle Clark as usual. Welcome again. Peace and love on all the panel. I'm building. Oh, she's building from Florida. Okay, awesome. Jody, what's your take on this? Are you ready? In Jamaica, if there is a full-scale blown-out war?
You know what I said to? I was talking to one of my cousins who imports rice into the country, and I said, save me 20 bags.
20 bags.
Do you understand what I just said?
20 bags of rice.
20 bags of rice.
I told him to say he imports rice to sell in the country.
Okay.
So I called him and I said, save me 20 bags. Because whether we like it or not, it's going to adversely affect everything, just like COVID did.
Yes.
And the most important thing, we already have shortage of stuff in Jamaica because of COVID. People will not say it outrightly, but it happened. We had shortage of chicken a couple weeks ago. We still do. We have shortage of rice, flour, saltfish, a number of stuff that people don't talk about. And if, just disturbance in the trade of these things happened as a result of COVID, you can imagine if there's a war. It's no joke. We are not ready for it.
Good Karma just flagged up on that point that we just mentioned earlier. We do need to make this about the race. Do you know that all Europe are opening their borders to the Ukraine refugees? Yet when refugees from Afghan tried to escape war in 2015, they were all refused, according to Good Karma there.
Yeah, that's not true. Germany took in 1 million. Italy took in a ton. So yes, there were reports that they set quota. So I don't, that statement is not true. You could just go spend a ton of time in Italy in a place called Bergamo, which I visit quite often, and you'll see the change. A lot of Nigerians are there. They're setting up businesses. So I don't think that statement is true, that Europe didn't take in any refugees from Afghanistan or Africa.
Yeah.
I think though, Anil, sometimes because what we see is what's shown on the media versus the statistics of what really happens. Sometimes we get the wrong impression about what really happens, which is the same thing with this war, by the way. What's happening now. We see what's on media, but we don't have the full picture of what's happening. Yeah,
and you're right, Joe. But Merkel was a big. Merkel said, "I'm taking in 1 million." Right? She was big.
Oh, yeah. She was very open. She was bringing
very open in terms of what she was doing. And you're right. And that's one of the reasons I suggest folks just browse around. Watch different perspective. I think the BBC has done a pretty good job because they have local folks on the ground. I think Al Jazeera has done a really good job.
Al Jazeera does a brilliant job at that.
Yeah, so they do have, you see the vantage point, different perspective, but if you want to see different, what's going on, then your typical CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, look at some of the world channel like BBC. I always listen to BBC because they have some really good local reporters that are sort of giving you some local perspectives.
Yeah. Let me see, Jody, what are you drinking? Sorry.
I'm drinking a special mix, and I can't even tell you what it is.
This is talking sick. You've got to
like you can smell it from over there. That's how strong it is.
Give me the weed.
Hold on, Anil.
No, she's
Don't
not.
talk
No, she's not.
Don't talk too fast, Anil, because it's right here. It's all right here. A good combination of a few things. So Anil, I have this right here.
Oh
What's
Lord,
that?
she did not. I know.
We have this right here,
Oh wow.
and we have this right here. Hold on.
Jody, you're going hard.
That's
So
Lester's drink.
don't worry about my combinations.
Jody,
Be
I
Hold
have
on.
taught,
to
don't.
Wine, beer, and rum. A new drinks that.
It's a new mix. I like it very much,
So
and
you're
it goes very well. It goes very well with the CBD. You know what I
well.
mean?
I've seen people in the United States or wherever in the world throwing away vodka, Russian vodka. So therefore, there's going to be a sort of maybe an influx or demand for other alcohol. Maybe Uncle Jay, because they're throwing away Russian vodka.
I mean, like you can never. Well, it never gets old, you know.
Yeah, but listen, on a serious note, now, and this is a question because Scotty mentioned this point here. Are you saying that people in Jamaica can't grow their own rice and chicken mix? That is
No, that's not what we're saying. That's not what we're saying.
I think you say okay. Let's go back to what you said about rice.
Yeah, we import rice in Jamaica. We don't grow rice in Jamaica anymore. We used to. My grandfather used to grow rice in Westmoreland. Not my great grandfather, my grandfather.
Mm.
So Jamaica has the potential to grow its own rice, but has not done so. We've stuck to we stuck to the short crops in Jamaica a lot. We don't put a lot of investment into areas that we can really reduce the amount of imports. But if we were to stop importing rice today, we would not have any rice next week.
Right.
That's not a joke. We've been growing chicken, but what has happened? We depend on our supply for feed and all those stuff from countries.
Yeah.
So it's not just growing chicken, it's everything else that comes with it. Farming is something that is now picking up back pace in Jamaica, but it is still not where it needs to be. We can feed ourselves in Jamaica.
Well, let me bring in one of the visionaries for Jamaica now, Mr. Patterson, United Independent Congress, because we're talking about if we go into a war, what will happen, and so I'm going to bring in Mr. Patterson. Good afternoon, Mr. Patterson. How are you, sir?
Good afternoon. Fine, thank you. Can you hear me clearly?
We can hear you clearly. Let me see.
Wonderful.
Are you guys hearing Mr.
Yes.
Patterson?
No, he's
Clearly.
muffled.
Excellent. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Oh, there
Sorry.
you go.
Is it better?
Yes,
Yes.
I can hear him.
Okay.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Good evening.
Joseph. Sorry, just to stop you for a second. I know Marlon. Just if Marlon is listening, I'm not seeing his image. I've been trying to get him in, so just to let you know if he, but he should be hearing this. Sir, thank you for coming on at such short notice because I sort of put it out there that the topic, our topic tend to spin depends on what's happening in the world. The plan I had got thrown off. Putin said I need to focus on him. I don't want to focus on him too much. I want to focus on what happened in Jamaica, or how are we prepared if there's a full-scale war in Europe? Of course, I'm here in England. Jim Screech across Jamaica at this time, you know what I mean? But for those in Jamaica, what would you say, sir, and your thinking? And thank you for joining us.
Sure. I mean, here in Jamaica, we have a serious situation in that.
Oh, sorry. Somebody said, "What is Mr. Patterson drinking?" My apologies.
Oh, I'm drinking lime water.
Lime water.
Of course, he's gonna be politically correct.
By the way, Jamaican lime water. The lime came from Jamaica.
Okay.
Yeah, the lime. In fact, the lemon I have here is picked from my tree, and the water is harvested from my roof. So the only thing that's not made here is the glass.
So you are self-sufficient and you're ready.
Absolutely. I tell you what, I have solar energy here. So whenever we have some energy problem, I'll be okay. And I have 6 months of water stored in the ground and in the upper tank. So I'm okay in terms of water.
You are ready.
And energy. And also food. I live on a 36-acre farm. So we have food sufficient to feed us, and we have water and electricity.
That's awesome. Well, I guess you can educate us now. How do we prepare then, sir?
How do we get the rest of Jamaica to be where you are?
Well, I think you're going to have to elect the UIC for that because we have tried for 78 years, so with other guys, and it hasn't worked out. So let's try something new now.
But anyhow,
So,
tell us about
I've
tell
got-
us about. Sorry, Anil, go ahead, Anil.
no, you talk about food and energy, and obviously you're prepared. If you look at, I think Jamaica import 100% of their energy, right? They do have solar, but if you get into a hot war situation, and what I mean by hot war, cyber, and they're tit for tat on the sanction, how are the working class Jamaicans, how they're prepared now? What is the government doing to
Now,
help that preparation?
now, Jamaica is completely vulnerable. We don't have any safety mechanisms at all built in. We don't have water security, even though we have plenty of water here. We have not moved beyond what the colonial masters left. So we have a water problem. We don't have food security because we have unfortunately consistently undermined our farmers to the point where we import even onions and scallion. We import, just about everything. We energy. We have not created a proper energy mix, so we're highly dependent on fossil fuel. We don't have a very strong solar energy facility. We don't have very strong biogas. We have a lot of biomaterial here. We could have had significant bioplants here. So we have no biogas to use on a major scale. We have hydro facilities. We have no, I mean, the capacity for hydro facilities, but we haven't developed those either. Done for 1,000 years that we could have tapped into. We so we're very vulnerable. So basically, what's going to happen if we have a full-scale, long-term war? We're going to have major food shortages. We're going to have significant blackouts. We're going to have water shortages, both in terms of capacity and in terms of being able to push it around the island because of the lack of energy to do so. We're going to have severe food shortages because our farmers are not equipped to produce at the level that we need. They've also become very dependent on imports as inputs to their farming structure. So we're in a very, very bad position. And all we can do now in terms of planning for it is, order 20 bags of rice, as I heard one of your listeners said. So we're gonna have to stock up on our rice. We need to make sure that at a household level, we put in water infrastructure, get those big drums and stuff, so you can at least, catch your own rainwater, get some treatment facilities in place to treat your water properly. But these are so far fetched for the vast majority of Jamaicans because many of us here are just too poor to even prepare at this late stage. We don't have the money, we don't have the energy, the time, and so our country's in a very bad position. So I wish I had better news for you, but that's just the harsh reality here in Jamaica.
Would you say, Sir Patterson, that Jamaica keep missing the boat a lot of times when it comes on to self-sufficiency and actually, you know, building upon ourselves, and we tend to react when we have incidents like these now. So I can predict, and everybody can predict, that a lot of things which are going to be in the news now is about how can we be self-sufficient, how can we prepare ourselves. When really and truly, as a nation, we should have been there already. Jody said, well, somebody said, are we not able to produce rice? We're importing a lot of rice. So therefore, why we keep missing these boats?
It's one phrase: bad governance. So you have known this for years. We've borrowed a lot of money. Jamaica owe, somewhere in the region of $2 trillion, but we can't see the results of that borrowing. Evidence in the country. We don't have a system of governance with proper checks and balances, so we lose millions of dollars every year to corruption. We lose a lot of our citizens like yourselves to foreign countries. The brighter you are, the quicker you leave the country. So once, so we have a large concentration, God forgive me, a larger concentration of the um, not having the brightest and the best staying here. They're somewhere else. And
Yeah.
then now those who have control of our political apparatus now, because they're dealing with an unsophisticated population, they get to manipulate our economy and extract the wealth from it. So if you go to our politicians' homes, they will have things like what I have. They will have water security in their homes, they will have energy security, They will have massive import amount of food and stuff. They will have heavy security to protect themselves. But the rest of the people will be left vulnerable because of bad governance. So that's the answer I believe I can give you in a summary form.
Anil.
So, so the question I have there is how much of that is internal versus external? So, one of the things Jamaica debtness, I think, is you mentioned about what 13 or 14 billion dollars in debt today. But if you look and you go back to and you think about sort of some of the trade unions that has hurt Jamaica, like for example, the UMCC, what we call it now, NAFTA, for our predecessor, that decimated our Jamaican bananas. But to your point, we didn't do anything to short market. So what are your thoughts around, even though you have farmers who want to farm, but they don't have access to market? And that is some of the reason why we are not sustainable, or are we able to be resiliency. So when we have incidents or chaos in the world, we could be self-sufficient.
Well, in terms of our farmers, they are suffering primarily because of government intervention. If our governments had allowed our farmers to manage themselves and create their own supply chain, their own markets, and so on, they would have matured by now enough to be able to understand the business, understand the markets, and relate to it. But what we have is a very paternalistic system in Jamaica where we have massive political gatekeepers who direct traffic in terms of our economy, and they direct it very badly. And so they killed every economy, every industry that our politicians touch dies. If it's whether it's sugar or coffee or banana, once you let our politicians touch it and start to gatekeep it, they destroy it. So to your question, how do we remedy this kind of situation? We have to move to a new paradigm, and that has to be where we contain the government from being such a active player in our lives, and restrict them and reduce the cost to us of government, and then shift that money back into the hands of the ordinary citizens and let them make the optimal decisions that they need to make to grow and build their economy. So we need to create a new Jamaica, a Jamaica where the environment is safe, is clean, is orderly, and where the citizens are now empowered by virtue of education and a good governance model so that they can go about building their economy. We cannot continue to leave in the hands of 63 men and women in Parliament the lives of the other 2.9 million people to decide what happens to them, because so far they have made a very treacherous decision, and that is to extract the wealth of the people while distracting and dividing them with partisan politics.
And really and truly, something of this nature should be out of the hands of, say, a political thing. It should be a concerted effort, just like how we have the Vision 2030. Vision 2030 should have been like a concerted effort with all players. And all players should be actually on this track of saying, let Jamaica become a self-sufficient. But are we trying to say that, and I think I've heard it all the while, that no one wants to actually work together because somebody else is going to get the credit.
Yeah. So may I ask Mr. Patterson a question?
Let him go back to this point here first, and then we come to you, Vita. Sorry. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
I think you see, Selburn, we have this problem where we're trying. Let me be very blunt. Socialism just doesn't work, right? What you want is to make sure that you empower people to make their own decisions for themselves. The more you have politicians trying to make decisions for everybody, is the more problems you have. The role of politicians, the role of government, is to protect our individual sovereignty so we have the space. For example, in Jamaica, we're just not safe. If government had focused on making sure that we have a safe country, thousands of us, even you, would be investing in Jamaica right now, because you would have the space to do that. You would have the freedom to do that. You would have the environment to do that. But as long as we keep having a very unsafe environment, and that's just one example, one area of government's responsibility, which they cannot honor, which is to create a safe environment. Why can't we have a police service that actually works? Why can't we have streets that are actually well maintained so you can drive quickly from one into the next and do business? Why we can't have a solid public transportation system? Why we can't have our trains running from east to west and north to south so we can do business? Instead, We keep having these talking heads, chatting a lot, saying holy words, highfalutin words, sucking out our money out of the economy, and leaving us with bad roads and insecure communities. We have to fix the basics and stop talking about holy things. Let's get to the basics of how a country works. Safe, clean, orderly means prosperity and business and growth for everybody.
Vita, you say you're going to vote for UIC?
I didn't say that yet. I have a question. I have questions. So, Mr. Patterson, I recommend, as far as you stepping up for the Jamaican people and decided that we needed something different. I live in the States, so the pressure of whatever the government is doing or not doing doesn't affect me as much as the Jamaica, like Jody. But you mentioned that we were having a brain drain in Jamaica, and I know for a fact that we are, that the brightest of the brightest are leaving. And you also mentioned that you are doing your own, and I'm going to use the word irrigation as far as we have it's a land of food and water. Why are we not doing irrigation, stuff like that to promote that? But with the brain drain, what would you do to keep the young people or to keep the brains in Jamaica? What would you have done? What can the government do different? What would you have done?
Very good. As I was saying before, you want to create an environment. Take our teachers. Why would a teacher leave Jamaica? They leave Jamaica because A, the pay is low, the school environment is bad, and they can't live a decent life in their community. If you make sure that our teachers have a decent environment, a decent pay, and they can live here in Jamaica to a basic equivalent standard with anybody in any other country, they would stay here. People run away from this country because of lack of opportunity. Why we have lack of opportunity? Because our politicians who are gatekeeping the economy keep shrinking the economy. If you're born in Jamaica, let's say you're a 25-year-old 40 years ago in Jamaica, you would have
I'm
more
21. I'm 21. Just letting you know.
you would have more opportunities then than you have now. When I left UTEC in 1993, I had 4 job offers in 1993 when I left UTEC. Today, if you have one, you're very, very lucky. Why is that? Because they're shrinking the economy. How are they shrinking the economy? The politicians are like leeches. They suck out. If you can't come here and do business normally. If you come back as a what do you call it now, a returning resident, and you want to set up business, everybody have their hand out to you. Every politician, if you want to get a permit to do this, you want to get. There's all kind of avenues to prevent you from just focusing on your business. And if you do get by all of that, you have to fight now with criminals on
Yes.
both fronts. You have the thief inside the company, your employees, because we have created a culture of criminality in this country. A culture. So the moment you hire somebody, the eyes come off the job and start to look at what they can thief out of your business. That's number one. And then outside of the company now, outside, you have those who are plotting how they're going to get and steal from you, whether you're leaving in the night or coming back or whatever. You can't just focus. I've lived in Canada for a number of years and I did business in Canada, still do. And what I loved about it, I never had to be very focused on security. I focused on markets. I focused on product development. I focused on training my staff. I focused on building my business, not worrying and fretting about who and thief my asset them and what kind of stuff. So these are the things which are holding back our country right now.
Mr. Patterson, I have a question for you. I'm going back to what you were saying about, what is it that we can do to be a little bit more self-sufficient in Jamaica? I am in Jamaica, right, Mr. Patterson? And as you said, there are a lot of what you said in the first part of your introduction earlier. You did talk about government agencies holding back farmers. We're not able to be self-sufficient because of a lot of it is being controlled by the government. And I agree with that 100%. Because I am around a lot of farmers who, because a system is a certain way, they can't get in the market. And that I think is really destroying even Jamaicans who are desperately trying to make a life in Jamaica because they don't want to leave Jamaica, right? And the system is set up to really hold them back. And it's only for those who have links or for those who know somebody who knows somebody. And that is not fair to the average Jamaican. And I think if a system is to be put in place, it has to be one that makes the plane the levels plane,
Playing field
exactly,
level, yeah.
the levels plane. And I think one of the most recent things that I was discussing with somebody, it has to do with just the weed farming and how things are being done, and the level is not the plane is not level. I don't know why that concept is not getting me. Vita, the drink is too strong, right?
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate. It is unfortunate that those people who are desperately trying to make lives better in Jamaica, because they don't necessarily want to leave, it is so hard because of the systems that are in place.
Yeah.
And even simple things like chicken farming and just the simple things,
Simple.
egg farm and stuff like that. I didn't know that the bureaucracy was so horrible, that there
That
are
is why.
farmers who will have eggs and chicken spoiling, and then they say that we have a chicken shortage, not realizing that there are farmers out there with stuff, but because there is this high level of bureaucracy, their stuff can't go to market. And that is not fair to the average Jamaican who are trying to make a living for themselves. I believe Jamaica is self-sustaining. I believe we can sustain ourselves if we learn to level the playing field and everybody gets a chance to do their thing, because the average Jamaican is trying not to, I mean, trust me, we got it with COVID. The average Jamaican got it with COVID. They had a job, they now have a job on a farm or a job on something else that they're doing. Nobody is deciding anymore that they're going to go back to their jobs or stick to their jobs. We got it. Everybody got it. So nobody's thinking there's no one way anymore.
Yeah.
But as I said, the plane is just not level. It's not level at all.
Yeah.
And it makes it hard for persons who are actually trying to make a difference. It's very hard. So how do we change that? How do we? I don't know. You probably have better ideas than me, Mr. Patterson, because it is difficult. Just like you said with the resources, we have enough water to supply Jamaica and another country, right? But so many people in Jamaica don't have water. That don't make no sense. Right? We have enough food in Jamaica to feed all of Jamaica and one next country. But what we do, we import most of it and leave the wishy-washy for our people.
So I want to follow up something you said, Mr. Patterson, because I don't remember what year, and you touched on education, and I left Jamaica years ago, but I do come regularly. And there was a policy change when they changed all the secondary high schools. They changed them all to high school because there was this discussion that you had two system a high school. And I remember there is Spalding Secondary School. I remember that school. I went to Edwin Allen Comprehensive High School, and they had sort of trade where there's an enormous amount of my friends who left and are now builders, welders, all that trade, right? What I've seen over the years, you don't have those trades anymore. So we see those kids who normally would have different paths are being shoved in one path. What are your thoughts around how would you reform the educational system as it is today? And then my second part is, what are your thoughts that, for example, I'm in artificial intelligence, right? I've said many times to the Jamaican government that automation is something and technology is something that could get Jamaica to the next North Star. What are your thoughts, and how do you put the infrastructure in place we have great universities there to take advantage of sort of the next, what we call fourth industrial revolution?
Yeah, the UIC has an education policy which is called LEAP, Learning Enrichment Advanced Program, which speaks to all of the elements you've just mentioned. Chief among them is to revamp the way we do education, beginning with ensuring that the child has a proper understanding of themselves and understanding human relationships and in understanding money. We're going to drive it from that angle because we realize the approach which is academic based and which is Eurocentric based has not been very beneficial for us. So we're going to switch it to an Afrocentric base, and we're going to ensure that you first of all learn who you are and understand yourself, your social, your biological, your spiritual you, so that you connect with you first. Then after that, you want to make sure you learn how to deal with people. Jamaica, we normally solve problems by fighting instead of or big quarrels. So we need to fix the ability, the interpersonal skills. And of course, right around the world and in Jamaica, we have shortchanged our children so they don't understand economics properly and see the connection between politics and economics and money. So we want to make sure that's fixed. Then we go into the areas you're talking about now, which is the technical trades. We believe it's important to teach the sciences not as separate siloed subjects, but to integrate them as sciences, so physics, chemistry, bio integrated, but also link that with the trades. So every child, no matter which stream you're going to follow, you understand the connection between those sciences and the things that produce what you eat and drink and wear and live in. You understand? And then out of that now, we're going to develop the streams where the students and their parents select what areas they want to go into. We have to emphasize now the automations, the artificial intelligence, the coding, because that's not even the future, that's the now. Jamaica is 25 years behind because our current school system have been preparing students for an economy which is long gone. So we have a serious gap between the competences coming out now and the competences required in the world today by our students. And so we're going to shift that around. We're going to create a new education model that meets the needs of our children today. Easier said than done, but must be done.
Do you think our government gets that though, Mr. Patterson, that there needs to be a change?
No, our government is based on how to win the next election. So they're not based on a plan. They're not following any plan for the development of Jamaica. And you have to understand why. Our very constitution, the model of our constitution, is designed to make sure our government is short-term focused. You cannot have a divisive system the way we have it. Let me rephrase that for you. All the countries which are rich today never started out with partisan politics. They adopted that after they became wealthy countries. So if you're trying to build a country using where you divide yourself into two tribes and fight each other forever and then become wealthy, doesn't happen. Singapore proved it. Singapore, even though they're a so-called democracy, watch what has happened. They've held one government for 30 years. Fortunately, a good government, one that was committed to the development of the people. Over that 30-year period, they went from being a backwater country, worse than Jamaica, to quadrupling Jamaica in every sense. They now have a GDP per capita of anywhere between 65 and 67,000 per person, while Jamaica is still lingering between $5,000 and $7,000 per person. So if we're going to fix Jamaica, we have to start constitutionally. We must replace the colonial model of divide and conquer with a unifying model, such as what the UIC has designed. We must operate Jamaica like a company. In a company, you don't have an opposition and government on the board. You have a board, and the board focuses on how do we make this company better. You must have a model, an economic model, a political model that have us sitting around the table talking about advancing Jamaica as opposed to finding political tit for tat that we can do while we're working behind the scenes to extract as much as we can because we know only 5 years or so.
So Mr. President, I hear you, and I'll sort of go historical, right? If you go back and you watch Bruce Golden, for example, when he started the national NDM, National Democratic Movement, I think it was called.
Yeah.
He had a great idea, similar, but the one thing he was not able to do was convince the people, right? I still have family member in Jamaica, and they will only vote for one party because they have this thing in their head that says, my grandfather was this, my grandmother was this, and there's no way I'm changing. So my question to you, how are you going to sell the vision, this vision to the people when there's so many that have had that same vision but lack the execution?
Well, first of all, O'Neill, this is the first time Jamaica has had this vision. It's the first time. We've never had it before. Jamaica has lacked having a leader with a very clear vision that's actually workable. The best we have come to this is Michael Manley and the PNP, where he had a very clear vision, but very poor geopolitical, skills, which cost us dearly. But now we have a real vision, and we have a leader who understands geopolitics, who comes at it from a global perspective. Now, Bruce Golding and the NDM is not a true reflection of a third party. The NDM was a branch of the JLP, so the Jamaican people are still trying to figure out, are you really, serious or not? So that was a problem. And he didn't give it enough time. So Bruce Golding gave up after a short stint, and that collapsed the party. I have been at this now for 10 years straight, and all we've been doing is growing solidly. I have made sure not to make any grand announcements like all the other third parties did. We work from the grassroots up, and so we're a grassroots party. We're not funded by big business. We're funded by small donors in and outside the country because we're determined to remain independent of that kind of politics. Now, how do I know for certain that we're going to win? Here's why. The Jamaican people have consistently told us through the polls that they're tired of this system. The last three elections, 45% did not vote, then 52%, then 63%. And right now, those who have heard about the UIC, because we're being blocked by mainstream media, they have deliberately blocked us from the public, and we're fighting to get around that blockage. But those who have learned about the UIC from JLP, PNP, and independence, the moment they learn about us and actually check out our platform, our manifesto, and listen to what we're saying, the moment they get wind of that, they're immediately a UIC supporter. And that's what we've been seeing. When you see Jamaicans, ordinary Jamaicans, when you see ordinary Jamaicans dipping into their pocket and funding a political party, you know that we have a change. And it's a massive change coming.
Yeah, it's interesting what you said, because I was watching the other day where you major events happening in Jamaica, and I noticed that the opposition leader is normally invited, but because of the political party, because you have to remember this at the same time, that the Constitution does not recognize an opposition. Don't recognize political parties. My apologies. The Constitution do not recognize political parties. But I was wondering, why are you not invited sometimes to these things as a third political party? Do you know why?
Well, let me explain it to
I
you.
think you answered it already, but you can say
Yeah,
it
it's
again.
very simple. No, but here it is. Let's understand Jamaican politics clearly. And Jodie's laughing because she knows this very well. Let's understand Jamaican politics. The two main political and by the way, let me back up a second. You said that the Jamaican Constitution does not recognize parties. Yes and no. It does not explicitly, but it implicitly recognizes political parties because it calls for a government and an opposition. And the entire structure is designed for that duopoly to exist. So it is here by design calling us to be divided into two tribes. Now, beyond that, the two main parties in Jamaica are funded squarely by the same donor, the elites of the private sector organization of Jamaica. They fund these two and have funded them for the last 78 years. Remember, those two parties were sanctioned by the British Crown and used to eliminate the Marcus Garvey Party, the only true independent black man party in Jamaica. So those two parties sabotaged the Marcus Garvey Party with the help and encouragement of the British Crown, and then they were funded by the elites of Jamaica to maintain the facade of a democracy while they continued to milk the nation the same way our colonial masters was milking the nation. So as long as that big money is behind those two, they now control the media because the same private sector elites control the media, which is why you don't see the UIC being invited. Now remember, the UIC is a registered political party in Jamaica. We fought with the Electoral Commission of Jamaica, which is a fraud. It is stacked by the two political parties. They appoint the representations there, and so they fought us for 10 months long. We fought back, and we succeeded in the end, but only just succeeded because now they say you think you get through. We control the media. So the people will not hear from you unless we say it's okay for them to hear from you. And so we're now fighting this battle on social media and in the trenches with limited resources, but with all of that Selber, with all of that O'Neill, with all of that Vita, with all of that Jody and Lester, we're still making headways into the heart of the Jamaican people. And as soon as we bust out fully, it will be the end of the colonial party's rule over this country.
So I have two more questions.
Sorry,
I want to.
Lester. Good evening, Lester. How are you doing?
Lester, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. But Anil, go ahead.
No. What are you drinking? You can just get into it. What are you drinking?
Oh, Baileys and amaretto.
No Russian vodka.
So, one of the things you mentioned and you touched on, which, around security, right? Jamaica has had, you could go back the 80s. My dad was a cop in Jamaica for a long time. Had family in the police establishment for a long time. And you see sort of ebbs and flow, right? If you go into 1980s, the 1990s, and then something happened, right? One of the theory I have is that the JCF establishment need to be reorg, right? The way we do police in Jamaica is back in colonial time. What would be your plan to keep Jamaica safe?
Very good question. So we agree with you. We agree with you 100% on the end that the current policing system. I think somebody needs to mute their mic. Eh?
Yeah, I just muted it. Yeah, I've learned how to mute mic. I don't know what it is, but I keep muting. Everybody mute their mic while Mr. Patterson is talking. Thank you.
So yeah, so the current.
Sorry, I muted you by mistake. My apologies. Sorry, I muted you by mistake. Sorry, go on, Mr. Patterson.
The current police force is designed off the colonial model, where it's really a bit of it's a militia which is there to protect the interest of the crown. So they're not really there to protect the sovereignty of the citizen. So we have to change that, and the UIC will change the police force into a police service where the focus will now become to serve, protect, and respect the people of Jamaica. In order for you to do that, you have to do a retraining exercise, and you have to also look at the compensation model that you have, and you have to look at how you progress through the ranks in the police service. It has to be based on merit and not based on political connection and so on. We also have to ensure that the police has the mechanism to do what they need to do. And you have to embed the police now in the community as part of a community policing arrangement. Not the general one that they talk about, a real police community, meaning you must link policing with community services, with the community centers, with the youth development, with the parenting, rehabilitation, and training that you have to do, and with the correctional facilities. So once you get the police at the community level, living in the community, participating in the community, and trained to respect the citizens and protect their sovereignty, you have a change. You also have to make sure they have the tools to do the work. For example, we don't respect police in Jamaica. They normally, are housed in very dilapidated police stations. They're fixing a few of them now. So we have to fix that. And we have to make the police, again, a professional, somebody that the people look up to and respect in the community. And people will not respect somebody who is underpaid for the very important job that he has, and they will not respect someone who is not respectable, someone who is not trained to understand how to deal with people and talk to people and relate to people. So the psychology, the sociology of how you socialize police officers in your training program is critical. So a complete shift is required if we're going to have effective policing in Jamaica.
Mr. Patterson.
Yes.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening to you, person.
Let me start which it is not entirely true, sir. Right? The problem within the police force is mainly culture. Right? So when I was a part of the Marine Police, what I learned at training school, the first day on the job, they tell me that to put all of that through the gate. That should all of that. So culture is as a main part of the problem. So while on the job, I should tell my superior, say, me I go practice what them tell me at training school. That means I won't have a place there. So you have to take that in consideration. How you're making it seem as if the UIC gets elected, right? Is some brand new Jamaicans that are gonna find somewhere and carrying the police force, carrying the public sector and the fire service, the water. You still have to remember that you're dealing with Jamaica. And I don't know what you're going to do to change the mentality, because even when you look overseas, we carry the Jamaica mentality with us.
Mm.
So it's and remember, we're not living in Jamaica overseas with a Jamaican mentality. Their vita is here, who can attest to that. The Jamaicans who she has employed under her still have that bad Jamaican mentality in a totally different system. I am living in Europe, and I've worked amongst Jamaicans, right? And the system is there, the structure is there, and the mentality remains the same. So how are you?
I'm in the UK. My mentality is not that same. My mentality. I'm a Jamaican. Are you trying to imply that Vita have a mentality like that? O'Neill have a mentality
No,
like
I'm
that?
not implying. I said what I said.
Because you said the Jamaicans have a bad
Very,
mentality,
very,
and I'm a Jamaican here.
yes, and I'm
So,
saying as
so,
a cut,
so if my
but
so if
I'm
my boss,
but you're
hang on. If my boss employ me, she's gonna say, Silburn, one of them Jamaican with a bad mentality. Then sorry, I just
Silver.
have to
No, what you're
respond.
no. But what you're doing, Silver, is not fair to a conversation because you're doing a singular thing.
Okay.
You're doing a singular thing, right? And then you're equipped also with a higher education. I'm talking about culturally,
Yeah. All
right?
right.
That's what
Drop
I'm
the
talking
question.
about.
Drop the question from
So
Mr. Patterson.
I am asking Mr. Patterson, what is he going to do to change the people culturally, especially in the police force?
Yeah.
So, Lester, you are correct that we have a cultural problem in Jamaica. Like in any other country, cultures are developed over time. Eh? So we have developed a culture of corruption, developed a culture of criminality, a culture of bad governance. All of those things were derived from our constitution, and B, our leaders, right? The leaders we have and how they've led us, and the model of governance which allowed them to lead us a particular way. So one of the first things the UIC is going to do to begin the transition of our culture from what it was to what it needs to be is to change the system of governance. I'm an accountant, a CPA for over 25 years. And one of the things I've noticed in business is that when you put in place good systems, you get better outcomes from your people. It doesn't mean you still won't have some bad apple, but the better the system, the less incidences of theft and fraud and so on you have in the system. So what we have to do in Jamaica and what the UIC has done, we have designed a system which is going to curb much of the problems which have led to the culture that you're talking about. So in the police service, for example, we're going to have to look at those who are in leadership, look at the system that determines how they get to leadership, the system that looks at how promotions are given, and the system of compensation and how that is designed. And we have to shape those to achieve the kind of individual and collective outcomes that we want to see. Now, remember, I'm not saying this is going to be easy. But if you look at it this way, if we continue to do what we've always done, we're going to get the same results. Give the UIC a chance now to change the system, provide the leadership, and hopefully, Lester, you will see different results. But I guarantee you, if you don't make the change, you will get the same results, which is leading us further and further down a path of perdition.
Okay. Joseph,
I
I
have
want to thank you. Sorry,
one last question
yeah.
from Mr. Patterson. I can't let you come on and then answer this question because it's been a big foreign policy nightmare in Jamaica over the last year and a half. Two-state, and I'm being tongue-in-cheek, by the way, Mr. Patterson. If you were the prime minister and the maroon issue with Chief Curry, how would you solve that issue?
Sure. First of all, if I was prime minister and I wasn't au fait on the history of our country or understand the history and culture of the Maroons, I'd make sure to get up to speed on that. Then, secondarily, I would ensure that I have a sit down with the Maroon chiefs to understand their perspective. Then I'll call a council together that will help us to look at the various issues and see if we can resolve them. A key issue for the Maroons is their autonomy. They would like to enjoy the level of autonomy that they thought they secured under the treaty with British. Let us discuss that and see how best we can achieve that. I believe the UIC's model of governance is to respect the sovereignty of the individual and to respect the sovereignty of collective groups within Jamaica. So, for example, the Rastafarians, they were treated very, very poorly. We would like to address that. For example, give them back their area in Pinnacle and allow them to exercise their rights and freedom to live the kind of life that they want to live. The same thing for the Maroons. Let's see what we can do. We won't be able to go back in the past and change the past, but we can devise a structure of governance that allows them to have certain amount of autonomy within the space we call Jamaica. And similarly, we must ensure that every single Jamaican, that your personal sovereignty is protected by the government. We must never again have a situation where the Jamaican people feel that their government has become their enemy by virtue of wanting to invade their privacy or invade their bodily autonomy.
And finally, before you, Anil, sorry, Anil, are you okay with that? And I goes
No, no, that's good. The only follow up to that, thanks for the answer, was in terms of what's going on in the world right now, right?
Mhm.
And obviously there are Jamaicans that are caught up in the Ukraine. And similar question, if you were prime minister, how would you deal with it? And you said something that I think that is important, right? And Henry Kissinger, I believe one of the foremost foreign policy mind, always said that think of the world as a chessboard, and there are many players at the chessboard. Your superpower is understanding what each person, how they're seeing things, right?
Yes.
So with that lens, what would you do in terms of what's going on in the world? Because obviously, as we talk, it's going to be a huge impact to the Jamaican public.
Absolutely. One of my mentors, he's not alive now, but I have studied all of his books and strategies and teachings, and that's Lee Kuan Yew. And he has always maintained a policy of being a friend to everyone and an enemy to no one. So you have to be able to diplomatically relate to different sides of the board. So right now you have a conflict between Russia and Ukraine. We have to understand the historical context of this. What is behind it, what's driving it, and then therefore play a role in all of it that doesn't necessarily upset any one of the players because it's not really your fight to get into. In terms of our students in the Ukraine, as Prime Minister, I would have just ensured that they're brought home. This need not be a fiasco. It should not be a public spectacle. It should have been a simple issue. You first and foremost find out who we have there and organize with our allies how best to extract them from the situation if they want to be extracted. We should not be talking about who's putting up $10,000 or $11,000 and all that kind of charade. It needs to be a very, very respectful, decent, integrity-led mission to bring our people home as quickly and as quietly as possible. The conflict itself, we need to play our cards very carefully. We need to understand the nature of the conflict. We need to support freedom. We need to encourage diplomacy as opposed to armed conflicts and help the people around the world to understand that a lot can be solved without us shooting each other.
Yeah, that is. I'm glad that you answered that question there because it's something I wanted, and only you sort of bring that one in, and it's really unfortunate because I believe with social media now, everybody wants to be on media and social media to show what they're doing. But as you rightly said, this is something should have been done very quietly and privately with those students and bring them in, or so, not to be a spectacle. Sir Joseph Patterson, I want to thank you so much for coming on. Anybody want to ask any quick question or any last minute or any last word you want to say, Mr. Patterson, before you go? I just want to say I just want to say Marlon Douglas wasn't able to come in for some reason. We've been talking to him, as you can see. Yes.
No worries. Go ahead, Vito.
Vita, you're on mute. Vita, did I mute you? My apologies,
Yeah.
Vita. I did mute you, Vita. You're not muted now. Hang on, she's
For Mr. Patterson, you
sorry.
still mute me.
Can you start again? We weren't hear you. I think you muted. Yeah, yes.
You can hear me now?
Yes.
I said I was about to start a lot of Jamaican curse word, but for respect for Mr. Patterson, I'm going to be respectful. Okay. Mr. Patterson, you said something. I'm going to take it back because the topic was that how are we being prepared? So I'm going to go all the way back. So one of the situations is that growing up in Jamaica, when I was in high school, one of the situations that you have to have a trade. And you meant there's two parties. At the time, there you have PNP and JLP. At the time, the JLP was what helped as far as trade in school. I sit here and I make blankets. I make a lot of blankets. I crochet. I learned this I learned how to make blankets in school in Jamaica. This is something that I can make blankets, prepared for the war, prepare for whatever happened, make blankets, give to the unfortunate, sell them if I have to make a trade. I have other friends who went to school, who is now in England, going through bakery. You have home economics. These are some of the stuff that when I was growing up, every child have to leave school with a trade. And that is one of the situations that Jamaica need to go back to. It was I don't know who implemented it. It was cut out, and I'm not going to say who cut it out, but I'm just saying that's something you need to look into as far as that, making sure that every child in Jamaica leaves school with a trade. Not everyone is going to go to higher education as far as college. Not all of us can afford it. I could not afford it in Jamaica. I went to school in Jamaica by scholarships. I went to school in America in scholarship. Not all of us is disciplined enough to study, to be smart enough to get the scholarship, because that's what it boils down to. These are some of the stuff that need to bring back into Jamaica. Education is the most important part in making sure that Jamaica get back on track. To make sure, that's where you need to start. Education. Educate the kids. Give them a trade. And that's what it is. So we need to get back to the topic in the sense of how are we been preparing right now? You can catch rainwater, as we say in Jamaica, and drink your water and your lemon. Or you don't need a platform to make a change in Jamaica. What you can do is also making sure that you meet in the community and making sure that the farmer, they have a say, and that they're making sure they're getting paid and they're getting representing to get their produce out there. So therefore they can unite, and that we don't have to export rice from different countries. Thank you, sir.
I have something to say before we go, though, Mr.
Before
Patterson.
Mr. Patterson goes.
Yes, before Mr. Patterson goes, Mr. Patterson. I am here, right? Again, I am saying I am here because everybody else around us is out of Jamaica, right? And what Lester said about the reculturing of our people, Vita, has a lot more to do with how we have changed as a culture. Yes. And what is and a lot of the things that you're saying about re-education is to be a lot more difficult than you think. Lester alluded to it earlier. We have change, and our culture is so, I don't know how to explain it. Even getting people to understand, even the children to understand that we are changing things is going to be difficult. You understand? Because everything is, all right, let me give you an example of what we with out here in the real world in Jamaica, right? Before COVID, we had the mindset of kids just going to school, and I'm talking about high school kids, the guys. They just want to be in math class because they want to learn all the math so that they can go scam. No joke. That's the only class they will go to. You understand? Because there's a lifestyle that comes with it. And I'm going to be really real. And I hope we don't have problems with this later. I'm going to be real. They only go to school to learn the math because they want to learn the trade of scamming. You understand me? Because there's a lifestyle that comes with it. There's the cars. There's the girls that come. And the girls, they do the same thing. There's a lifestyle that comes with it, right? So this is one section of the community. And then you have the other section of the community, you know, where people are actually trying to learn, to go to school, get an education, and go to university and go to colleges. And when they come out, there is no job, and a scammer living a better life than them. Why the hell am I going to school? Is the question being asked. So you have the educated being unemployed, and the uneducated, and I'm putting it in quotations because they're not dumb, they're living better lives than the persons who actually went to school to get a degree, and so on. And Lester, I want you to help me level this out a little bit, right? Because you're on the grounds, right? I am seeing it on a daily basis. The reculturing of people is something that's going to start from a young age, from basic school, right? We have to reculture children to understand what it is that we're in now and where we're going. And I hear you say you have a great education plan, and I can bet that was pre-COVID. We're talking about post-COVID now. Anil spoke about artificial intelligence. We have to move. Our kids went back to school and they went back to the same syllabus and the same system. That does not make sense post COVID. And it is terrifying. It's terrifying to me as a mother because I'm saying all of the syllabus that existed before COVID is not necessary now. It's not going to make any sense. It's not going to have a relevance to my child when he's 16 or 17. He needs to decide what is happening in the world now. How does it relate to it? You understand? I am here talking to somebody today, telling them I need to figure out how LFTs work because my son is very into these things, and he tells me he wants to do this and to be able to trade and to do all of these stuff by a certain age because he's thinking millionaire by 16. And I'm like, I don't know most of what he's telling me, and I have to figure it out so that I can guide him on the right path. He don't need subjects for that. If my son can figure out how to be a millionaire by trading before he's 16 years old, why does he need to go sit down in a history class or a social studies class? How does that benefit him? And I'm just talking as a child, as a mother who has moved beyond certain things. I don't confine myself to a job anymore. In terms of anything, I am my own businesswoman. I have educated myself in terms of where the world is going and where I want to see my kids in the next couple of years. No, I am average. The average Jamaican parent is going to suffer because their children are not going to be educated, smartly educated. And I'm not talking book education. We're not talking social studies and history and all of these math that they're never ever going to use. We're talking about intelligence of survival. They don't have it. Yeah. They're not going to know how to survive.
That's a good point. Mr. Patterson, you're going to address this, and it's something we're going to take on beyond this program. But the Prime Minister in the UK, just recent days, they're actually squeezing degrees which are not good. These are good degrees with some degrees in sports management and all those sort of things. They're shutting down some of these degrees because they're saying they just don't make any sense, or they're not going to give loans for those. Mr. Patterson, if you can address what Jody's saying there.
No, Jody, I completely sympathize with what you're saying because you're 100% right that the world has changed and has been changing, and we have to radically adjust the way we do things. Now, you said what my education plan is pre-COVID. No, it is post-COVID. It's during COVID, and it takes into consideration the cultural issues that we have. The problem we have with education in Jamaica is that it's monolithic. It is designed by the government following the colonial pattern of saying, let's push all of the kids through the same strainer and then get them out at the other end, being designed to do roughly the same thing, in a pre-industrial or basic industrial age. So we have to change that, and we fully understand that. Now, here's the problem you have, Jody. You have to decide, will I get that change by continuing with those who got us into the mess that we're in? And what I hear you saying a while ago is that you're kind of struggling now with, is what Mr. Patterson saying pie in the sky? And according to Lester, he doesn't understand the cultural context and the cultural challenges that we have. And I'm saying to you, it's not pie in the sky, and I fully understand. I live your reality. I am here living it. The good thing about it is that I have lived it in many other places. I have been to China. I have looked at what's happening in China. I have been to Myanmar, looked at what's happening there. I've been to Cuba. I have been to the Netherlands. I've been to Africa, to Germany. So I have had a wide cross-section of experience working in different environments, seeing how different countries have dealt with different problems. And I come back home to my country, and I've taken the time to do the impossible. This is, when you talk about a charitable cause, this is the biggest charitable cause in history, because I'm spending my money and my time doing what the vast majority of Jamaicans would not do, because they're suffering and struggling and have no time for politics. They're just trying to make ends meet from day to day. Now, I could have come back here and joined the elite that you know, that have their house on the hillside nicely and their wonderful high walls and their everything, and just enjoy life and enjoy seeing the mass of my people living a low standard with no hope. But what I've done and what I encourage you to do is to join me in giving us hope. Join me in looking at the problems you have seen and say, let us fix those problems. Not overnight. It won't be easy. Lester knows it's going to be a difficult task. But the longer we continue with what has brought us here, is the deeper we're going to get in a hole and have a harder coming out of that hole. And I'm committed to helping us start digging out of the hole now with the understanding that it's not easy, but it's necessary.
Let me
Mr.
ask you one more
Patterson.
question, Mr. Patterson. Sorry,
Yes, go
who's that, Lester?
Go
Let me
ahead,
ask
Jody.
you one more question, Mr. Patterson. I might be very rude in saying this, but I need an answer. Do you necessarily have to be elected to be in government for us to start making this change? I'm just asking this
ahead.
because I know the cultural platform.
Let
Does the party has to be elected for some
yes,
level of
because
change to start happening?
absolutely, there's no other way. The Jamaica's problem is governance. Let's be very clear on that. You might talk about culture now, but the culture you see today is just the outcome. All the stuff, the bad police force is the outcome. Our police weren't as bad as they are today, yesterday. They get worse every year. Our teachers, if you look at our teachers, you can remember quality teachers you had from way back. The teachers you have today, there's a serious difference in how that is operating, again, because of systems and changes and culture over time. So it's a governance problem, and if we don't fix the governance model, let me give you one example of the government. Can I Silver? Can I
Yeah,
explain
yeah.
it to
Go
you?
ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Watch what is happening in Jamaica. When you are prime minister in Jamaica, you determine who sits in cabinet from both the Senate and both the House. What does this mean? It means nobody in the House will mess with you as prime minister. Nobody from your side of the fence. Why? Because if they do, they won't get access to money and power through cabinet. If you're appointed by the prime minister in the Senate, you're hoping he will give you a ministerial portfolio. If you mess with him, there's no ministerial portfolio for you. So the very mechanics of parliament is designed to concentrate power and ensure mass corruption in the system. If we don't change that, you will never have proper representation, a person feeling empowered to truly represent his constituency and speak to issues and to have proper oversight. Instead, you're going to depend on the opposition, which we all know will always oppose. So we don't have much respect for that. So the model has to change if we're going to start to see some changes happening. We have to get to the place where politicians are not administrators. You separate the two. So you must have expert administering the ministries and not politicians administering. Politicians must make laws and legislation and provide oversight, not being a part of the executive branch of government. And because we have intertwined the two of them, we have mass corruption at so many levels. I see Lester winding up because he hears some stuff. But here is the fact. If we don't fix the governance model, no matter what we say, you'll have mass corruption, and corruption means kids going to school without proper resources, teachers going to school and have to hustle on the side, police have to have 2 and 3 jobs in order to keep up, and that is going to lead to all sorts of problems, which Lester then calls cultural. If we don't fix the drivers of the problem, we cannot fix the culture of the country.
Okay, I'm gonna let you go, but I got to let Lester come in and Lester have the last word with you, Mr. Patterson.
I don't know why Silburn is running off Mr. Patterson off the show. He
No,
seems
no,
very comfortable with us. But Mr. Patterson,
it wasn't planned for
okay,
so long. 'Cause we had to...
no problem, no problem. But is it the last time Mr.
Sorry,
Patterson
sorry,
and I
Mr. Patterson.
spoke?
Have you got time? Have you got time?
Yeah, man, I'm good. I'm good. I
All right.
can't give
Okay,
up this opportunity to have a good exchange with Lester. Go ahead.
Mr. Patterson, I'm so glad that I have this chance now for us to have a dialogue. The last time we didn't get a chance to have a dialogue.
Yeah.
I have been watching your party closely. I've been watching the live that you do and stuff like that, right? And you know, the speeches are wonderfully made. You know, wonderfully made.
Thank you.
What I'm worried about is the practicality of the things that the UIC is saying, right? Because what I see is the UIC saying that they want A and they're going to do A, and Jamaica is operating on B, C, D, E, F, and it's not coinciding, right? Um, Now, before I go into what I want to go into, you said
Lester,
something
I
about
want to
the
stick up. I want to stick a pin because the topic for today was how are we preparing ourselves in the event of a war. I don't want to go too much into the
and
UIC technicalities so
I
much.
no, I do understand.
Hang on, and
I
persons actually came on to hear that. So that's why I want. That's why I've been trying to get Mr. Patterson in and move on, and then we can go back to that bit for the last half.
I do understand that, Silver, right? Now, I have to say that what you said about the police force is not true. It's not the police force is getting worse. It is the people who are entering the police force of a particular mindset, right? Hold on, right? That's one, and that's fact. You can't argue that. So it's not the police force itself. But what I want to ask you a question, right? In terms of preparation, we have a black economy, we have a standard economy in Jamaica. The black economy is about 90% of our country, right? The standard economy is about 10%. So we have this huge underground economy, right? How is your party going to prepare us for that change where it flip around, where most of the economy is regularized and the black economy or the underground economy is very minimal? Because the situation culturally is, and Jody pointed out, persons nowadays in Jamaica, and for a very long time, don't have to go to school to become a millionaire. So and I've seen 13-year-old, 14-year-old children, 15-year-old in Hanover, Montego Bay, Westmoreland, with the chopper lifestyle, if you understand what I mean. And they might build 3-story house and this stuff like that. How are your party going to prepare us for this change that this person doesn't think along that line and don't think along to go into the black economy, but go into the standardized economy?
All right, so I don't know the ratios that you're talking about. I don't know those to be facts or not. But what I do know is that we do have a significant underground economy and we do have a large illegal economy, because the proper economy is over-regulated, badly regulated, and pushes the Jamaican people out on the fringes. The economy we have today is designed to protect big business and suppress small and micro businesses. If you're small, everything is against you in this country, from banking straight through to the full process of trading. So the UIC is going to flip that. We're going to make Jamaica a country of entrepreneurs where we respect, protect, and encourage and motivate our entrepreneurs. Bring down all the barriers, bring down all the restrictions that are preventing them from having full access to their economy. I'll give you one example. Ganja. We should simply free ganja fully so that those who are producing it are free to produce it, free to process it, free to sell it, and not have the government trying to tell them that only a person with $1 million in startup capital can get into the business, or $1.5 million. So we have to, so those are the basic things. Once we open the economy to the ordinary Jamaican and stop protecting big business and allow full competition to get up there, we're going to see a massive change in the regular economy, and you're going to have less need. Now, those who are building the big house from illicit activities, it's illicit. So we want to stop that. So if you're doing stuff that's wrong, we want to stop that. But for us to stop that, we have to allow you to do things that's right. We have to make sure the economy is designed for you to do things that's right. We have to make sure that the 16-year-old can go and get a bank account like that, so he can start him trading business and not have to run up and down and try to go through him aunt in a Florida to set up an account for him so he can do this. Let's open up the market, open the space so that the youngest of person, the oldest of person, the most unschooled person can find their way in a legal economy to build a product and a business without government being their major impediment in the process.
Sir Patterson, I want to thank you so much for joining today.
My pleasure.
All right, and it was a pleasure. And ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna bring you back again. I know I've had you on my show already because you're a friend of my program. What I'm gonna do is to get you back again, where we can have a full-on one with you, where we can talk about UIC as much as possible. But thank you for your.
And make sure Lester is on that program.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a short creative special for
Because
next week.
So what about me and Jody? Are we not relevant enough to be on the show with you?
No,
hopeful of
what I'm saying is, I love you, Vita. I love you, Anil. I love you, Jody. But I noticed that Lester has a bone to pick with me. So I want to make sure we get to pick the bone. You understand? We don't want him to suffer so much. So make sure Lester is on to pick the bone. You know, so I talking to you all. I really enjoyed myself, and I look forward to doing this again.
Thank
Okay.
you, Sir Patterson.
Thank
Have
you
a
so
good one.
much. It was a pleasure having you. Thank you.
And to Marlon, to ever bring him on some other time. I don't know what was happening there. You can have a chat with him. Okay, thank you, sir.
All the best, guys. Take care. All the best.
Thank you.
yeah, man.
Let's
Yeah,
start
man. We
here
have
that you have a green halo.
So Judy, I want to go back to something you say because
Oh, 1 second, Anil. 1 second, Anil. Let's have a drink. Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a drink. And okay, let's go for it, Anil.
so, what I was saying, you know, I'm not as fatalistic about the Jamaican people as some. I know I am not in Jamaica, but I think the young people of Jamaica is going to make a huge difference. And they've seen how their mother's father live in some cases, and they want a change. Now, one of the things that we have to be real careful about, especially with social media, you know, people talk about getting rich from trading an NFT, non-fungible token, or Bitcoin. There's a very small percentage
Yes.
of people who are doing that. You've seen a lot. If anybody on IG, there's so many people will say, "Send you $1,000 and I give you X price," right?
They scam Tato Cash. Actually, they hack him. Actually,
Right.
Same thing, yeah.
So we have to be careful in terms
Oh,
of.
remember with my account.
Sorry,
Jody
yes.
was act, yeah?
I was
sorry,
hacked.
yes. Go on back on.
So
the
those
yes.
are the things that we have to be careful of. Is how do we steer those young people into areas such as, you know, gaming? A lot of people talk about don't have kids. That there's a whole gaming community where there are people like in the Philippines that are making $1,000 a month playing games, selling and creating stuff. So for me, when you talk about, you know, how do you sort of get, you know, young people to understand where they want to go, you know, outside of the traditional sort of going the degree or the university route. I believe that the economy that's coming around automation, you people are talking about the metaverse, that world is gonna help folks like in Jamaica who want to be a gamer. They want to create, you know, real estate and own real estate in the metaverse, right? So to me is how do you develop those critical thinking skills and aptitude to help them navigate that world, right? But I think we have to be careful when our kids, and you know, mine the same, when they come and talk about Bitcoin and millionaires that they're seeing, right? Sometimes you have to say some of that is a fad, and there's a very small amount of people who are making a lot of money off of it, and there's a lot of people who are heartache, because I've always said if you're going to go into any one of these, make sure the money you lose, you could lose that money.
I've always said that sometime when people ask me that question, I say, make sure that you're happy to lose it, if anything.
But Silburn and O'Neill, Vita and Jody, and this is towards Jody. One of the greatest, if not the greatest investor of our time is Warren Buffett, right? And he said, the problem that world have is that people do not want to get rich slowly, right? Everybody have this rush in getting rich,
Quickly.
and yeah, what you have to tell your son, what we have to tell our sons, our children, is that nobody gets rich overnight except person who have an inheritance, get an inheritance overnight because somebody died or
Unless you're the
somebody hand
Marleys.
down.
What's that, Anil? What's that?
Yeah, unless you're the Marleys. Generational wealth.
You was born into that generational wealth.
All right. So, but what I'm saying is that there has to be a construct of a concept to our people that we don't get rich or wealthy quickly. Wealth is something that you build over time, right? That is not being taught to us because of the bombardment of what we see on social media, right? I get these things on Instagram to where people say about trading and crypto. I don't answer them. If you go into my inbox, you see all of them. I've never clicked on them. I've never answered them, right? And what they're using now to lure men in is these beautiful women, these beautiful photos, right? I don't even click on it.
You
You're
like
famous
Yes,
for
sir. They
them.
do it to women too. They lure us into
Oh
Lester. It's
yeah,
not just men. It's not
Yeah,
the
just men,
pictures out
Lester. We
there are
get them
nice, aren't
too.
they, Vito?
Yeah,
yeah,
we get them too,
yeah,
Lester.
yeah, yeah.
Pictures of
You
women
know,
or pictures of men.
Pictures,
Boy,
Vito. You notice I said Vito. I said the pictures are out there that are nice, aren't they, Vito?
very.
We get them too. I'm
Uh,
just saying. But
yeah. So,
let's talk.
hold on, Judy. Hold on. You see, what I have a problem with our direction as a country is that there's
which
no
country?
real.
The Netherlands or Jamaica?
yeah, which country are you talking about? Is that a NATO?
Wherever Anil was,
Is
I
that a
like
NATO
where he
country?
was. He
Is that
came
a
like a
NATO
different
country?
Anil. I love it.
Is that a
If
NATO
you
country?
okay, hold on.
All
Expre,
right, guys, I'm gonna switch devices.
Yeah.
Express geen Nederlands.
Okay.
Engels praten. Of patois praten. So, that patois me attack, that was Jamaican reference. If I was
Whatever
referring
you
to
say about my
my
whatever you
home.
say about my mother, same thing to your mother too.
Yeah, but there's not a serious and persons who know that I support a particular political party may have an issue with this. But there's not a singular or there's not a forceful direction where our country is going into, right? Take for instance, Dubai. When they know that their oil reserves are going to run out, right? 15, 20 years before that, they started a huge shift in what they're going to do as a country, right? And they made sure that they become the entertainment capital of the world. Also, a business capital where people can come in with their business, right? Plug in and start doing business where banking is easy, shipping is easy, all these things. We need to understand that as a country, Jamaica is situated in the shipping channel direct to the greatest market. We need to transform our whole economy. Education needs to be a lot easier and a lot more accessible, right? The change that we're talking about, if you're prepared, Jamaicans don't even speak English. I've had this debate with a lot of people over the years. Jamaica is not an English speaking country. Jamaica is a patois speaking country. Cause that we talk most of the time. When an American or a British person is speaking to a regular Joe in a Jamaica, him can't understand most of what he say. Him can't understand most of what he say, right? And we have to understand that we have to get our language properly. We have to get a second language, also mandatory that we learn Spanish or French or Mandarin or something. But we are approaching education in a very hostile way, and we're approaching education in a very backward way,
Okay.
right?
Let me let, let
Lester,
me
I'm not sure what
let,
high school you went to, but
sorry, Anil, let me put something out so people can respond to this while you bring in, ladies and gentlemen out there. If there's a full war and you can't go nowhere and you're locked down, you have to stay in Jamaica, you can't get no visa to go to America. Me get stuck in the UK. O'Neill stick in Virginia, Leicester in NATO land. What do you think you need to do? How prepared are you? Let me know what you have to say
Yeah.
on the comments there. O'Neill,
Yes,
please. Go
Lester.
ahead.
no,
Yes, Lester.
as
O'Neill.
What are you doing to be prepared
No,
yeah.
no, O'Neill was
for this
asking a
war?
question. Let's
Oh,
O'Neill ask a
oh,
question.
O'Neill.
So I think maybe the curriculum has changed. When I went to Edwin Allen, you had to speak proper English, and Spanish was mandatory. That
Me
might
too.
must have changed, right? I was lazy. I didn't take it on. I know some amount of Spanish. I know some amount of Italian, but I have friends who I went to, high school with are fluent in Spanish because they were taught from first form all the way to 11th form, and you continue. So, but I get the point you're making in terms of, education has changed, and I don't think it has changed to support the new industries that are out there. So the question becomes, how does the government rethink the future education in Jamaica? Because I think that is holding back a lot of pent up demand. And you need to figure out science, education, all these things. So I'll give an example, which was surprising to me. I saw something about women in science in Jamaica. When I went to school in Jamaica, who was doing math, physics was the girls. So literally my class, a physics class, you probably had more girls than boys doing physics. When you look at the pass rate in physics, chemistry, there was more girls, right? So something must have happened over the last couple of years where that has drastically changed, where you now have to put a program in place, right? So I think I get the sentiment, but go back to what Mr. Patterson is saying, right? We all know this. We all are talking about it. I'm sure the Prime Minister knows about it, right? Why is it that we're not reimagining the future education for Jamaican, right? We talk about artificial intelligence. I tried to connect with the University of West Indies a couple of years ago to talk to a professor that was doing something in artificial intelligence. I could not find one person. And a year or two later, they have this 101 teaching in artificial intelligence. Why is it that we're not investing in those things from high school all the way up? So Jamaica become a net exporter of technology. And if we're able to do that, you see a rise in GDP in Jamaica.
Agreed.
But the problem holding back us even in the technological area is the technology itself. Wi-Fi or access to broadband and it is a very, very okay, I need to say it the proper way. Because we speak to people a lot in Jamaica who have access to Wi-Fi, we think that a lot of people have access to Wi-Fi. But when you look at the saturation of internet in Jamaica, it is very, very small. So a vast majority of people don't have access to the internet, like steady access to the internet or cheap and affordable access to the internet. Also, you have many areas in Jamaica that don't even have cell phone service. So they can't even have Wi-Fi service. And because the area, like Karen Samarison's constituency, for the most of the constituency, a vast majority of the constituency don't even have cell phone reception, you know, and the service providers are not willing to spend the money to invest in the infrastructure in a lot of areas like this across Jamaica. So that's why during the pandemic, you saw persons who had to be, the teachers had to be riding bicycle and bike to go to homes to deliver, to when they photocopy the work and deliver, because persons may have a device, but they have no connectivity. So we have to look at the infrastructure of technology also and the affordability and access to this technology.
So
The
Lester,
interesting thing,
is this from the government? Is this the government that can make a difference? Or you're saying the people are not focused enough with what is important to them as a parent and them as the children for the children to make sure that that is in place? Or are you saying it's the government that's not putting enough infrastructure for the people?
The sad thing about that Vita, and O'Neill can attest to this, is that a small economy like Jamaica, the government is usually the driver of most industries, right? Because of the size country and the size of the economy. But what I think we are too dependent on government to drive business. Government should not be in business, right? And that is causing a lot of investors, FDI, even local investors and stuff like that. But it has to be where private sector is seen an interest and pushing for this type of development.
Okay, let me just read out some comments. O'Neill, I think you want to go shortly.
Yeah, I just want to make this one point.
Yeah.
I went to Guatemala recently, and something struck me. I was in the mountains, 10,000 feet above sea level, and I visited all these Mayan indigenous communities. Every one of these communities in the mountains has cell phone, cell tower, Wi-Fi. And the interesting thing I was thinking is we Jamaican made one of the biggest mistake ever when we had Claro give up their license. Because guess what? Every mountaintop in Guatemala and across Latin America have some of the best Wi-Fi because of Claro and the infrastructure, right? I'm 10,000 feet in this indigenous village and my cell phone is working, right? So to your point, Lester, the infrastructure has not been put in place. And when Claro had a plan to pretty much broadcast the entire Jamaica with Wi-Fi, somehow we let them pack up shop and leave.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I want to bring in some comments from persons as well. The question.
So, O'Neill, it was nice seeing you, and thank you for all the work you're doing for the government and the people of America. Love you, bro.
To put them blast on you.
All right.
Yeah.
Peace out.
Thank you, O'Neill. Good. Some of the people are, I did ask a question about what people views are in regards to the war, and someone said here, I live in the bush, so I'll be okay. Build a bunker. Is this about the war between Ukraine and Russia? And I said, I do believe people in Europe should be worried about the war. That's what about the war, but people in America should be okay. We're not honestly. Russia has cooked this up for more than 20 years. We never expected this to come. And some of the comments, protect the cockpit country. That's the last post why the prime minister wants to sell it off. And I think this is so important now. We need to protect ourselves, protect our country, protect all these different things out.
Yes, that's where we're all going to edit.
Yeah.
So, Lester, how are you preparing for, let's say, it's going to happen. It's World War III, as they say. It's happening. How are you preparing?
First of all, there's never been a world war. Not one or two.
Lester, there's a war.
Could you allow me? Could you allow me to answer you?
Fine. Fine, sir.
Listen, I am still a citizen of Jamaica. So if I see the war coming closer, I will go to the IND, the immigration here, and say, listen up, send me my yard. You understand me? Simple.
Let's say you got invitation there from Tammy Thelwell. You better take it up.
Lester, don't be like the students and wait until the last minute to go home.
No. Somebody's saying come on board the UIC. You need to come on board the UIC. That's what they said.
Unless you're gonna be assistant president, Lester, don't go.
The UIC broke, you know. So I'm not gonna join them.
All right.
Every part in Jamaica broke.
Business and entrepreneurs kills training to become commercially independent. Jamaicans are among the cleverest people in the world, particularly in maths, physical, and science, and especially when they run their own health and nursing program and business. Right, Jody?
Right. Jody's running the nursing program.
Yes. Can we hear? Is your assistant back? Okay. She's driving now, Dave. Lester. Jody's back in the car.
She's not
driving.
Jody, you're so low.
No, yeah, she's trying to sort it out. Yeah. Tell me, somebody said there will not be a World War III. What is a World War III? Or okay, let's ask this question, guys, and ladies and gentlemen out there, Instagram, Facebook. Let's just throw this out. Is there a war going on at present?
There
No.
is.
Okay,
No.
Okay, Jody, let's go for Vita first. Why you Vita say there's a war going on?
Okay, so Russia invaded Ukraine. And as far as I'm concerned, and based on what the dictionary defines war, there is a war going on because there's an invasion. Ukraine is fighting back. and America is preparing, Germany is preparing in case it escalates to a certain level, then there will be a bigger escalation. As far as the dictionary said, that is a war.
Okay,
Can I
so-
respond?
Okay, yeah, okay. Let's bring in somebody else here. The plan by Russia is to decapitate Ukraine by weakening strategic economic assets. Therefore, Tune said that. Lester, you go for that. I'm bringing everybody.
Okay.
Michelle.
There's a particular peninsula that Russia wants, and they're not going to leave until they get control of the peninsula. Number two, NATO wants to set foot in Ukraine. Russia, for decades, have been telling NATO, have been telling the Western world, that Ukraine is the red zone. Ukraine is the borderline. You have Poland, you have Hungary, you have Germany, you have Netherlands, you have all these countries. He said, listen, do not come into Ukraine, right? Because once NATO, Ukraine becomes a NATO nation, then more than likely a U.S. Army base will be there, right? You don't need another U.S. Army base there, right? Why would you want to set up a U.S. Army base so close to Russia? Russia, and Vladimir has said this, you don't see me trying to set up army bases in U.S. territories or near U.S. territories. Why are you doing this? This is an act of aggression, right? So he's defending his territory. He's defending his sovereignty, right?
That's a good point. Go on.
No, what we have to understand, a war means that the person in opposition is a formidable force. Ukraine, by tomorrow morning, will be flat like a Walmart parking lot.
All right,
right?
25, yes.
Yeah, you understand me? Now, we have to understand something. The US, there's only one side here that is taking action, and that is Russia. Everybody else attack.
And
US,
the court Lewin saying, this is what Tune said, this can't be World War III. It's in a war level. We never call US invasion in Iraq World War III.
but anyway.
No, it's agreeing with you. I think the person agrees with you.
No, I know, but this World War concept it bothers me because Africa and the Caribbean never had a war. You know what I'm saying? Wolf of territories never had a war. It's Europe war.
Okay, point taken. It's not World War. The Caribbean and Africa was not in it, so I have to respect
it was a
that.
European war. It was a
European war.
European war. We're back again with a European war again.
The next European war. But what I'm saying is that US and Silver Land, England. These NATO.
Where you come from?
No.
Watch man.
No, the country in which you
The passport, him not a blue passport.
you have no blue passport.
No, him not a blue passport.
No.
The man from Ochi have no blue passport.
Hey, listen. When you look at all the Caribbean islands and their level,
I was gonna go upstairs and get it. Go on.
When you look at all the Caribbean islands and the level of whatever, Ochi is right there as one of the Caribbean islands. Come on, guys, you don't recognize?
No. Okay, no. But what I'm saying is that US is.
He's getting his passport.
Okay, no, you must we don't know if I wife passport.
He's getting his passport.
It probably expired.
I still have my Jamaican passport, but I'm not gonna show the date that it expired.
Vita, you don't have a Jamaican passport then?
I do, but I'm not gonna show the date that it expired.
If you're up to date, you don't have a passport.
Vita, what do you use to travel?
I travel as
What's
an
your
American.
For the whole pouch.
He's such a. Oh my God! He have a pouch.
As a whole pouch.
His Jamaican passport.
When does it expire?
What's that? Ochi, right there.
Silver.
But Jody, did you let him know that it's no longer Jamaica? It's the CARICOM passport.
He have a CARICOM passport. It read.
It's changed from Jamaica to
Really?
CARICOM.
It real.
Bombard. I swear that said 1996. Oh, it's a Caribbean
Silver.
community.
Oh, Silver, is that a real
Mic
passport?
drop.
Is that a real passport?
Prom. Mic drop. Caribbean community. But it's bigger than me. Let's not count.
All the family, all the children, everybody passports is in this pouch here.
Okay, so Silburn, right there, that's a moment right there. How do you prepare for a war? Your passport, your important information. Have you put all your important information? If you have to evacuate right now. So Silburn, that was a point right there. Yeah. If you have to evacuate right now, or all your paperwork, all your information that you need to leave where you are. And that's very smart right there, guys. And that's what I did. I made sure my passport and all documents that I need just in case is in one package. I mean, I don't have a porch, but it's in one pack. What are you staring at? Jody's
No.
I'm
reading. Scotty said something earlier, Silver. Can you read what Scotty said?
Scotty, that Biden's, but it's a Biden ward. This is Biden's ward. Don't get it twisted. But Biden,
yeah, but I'm in Biden's country, so I have to be twisted.
Biden is sleeping.
No. I mean, Silver, the other one. He said something about Ukraine manufacturing something, but the font are small. I can't see.
So Ukraine have a lot of minerals and stuff that they're saying that Russia is not gonna bomb Ukraine in the sense that to damage the minerals that the world want. The world wanted the minerals that Ukraine have. So Putin is not going to bomb the country because of the minerals there. So that could be the possibility that, because that's what's been said. You know, but guys, we have to go back to history and look at that USSR. We all remember that USSR was breaking up. And if we all remember the break down that wall where it was, I don't remember, was that Bush who said
Gorbachev and they break down the wall,
where they break the USSR apart. And that's another situation that Putin is saying, you know, we are one, bring it back together. And I'm an American. So
what war? Victor, what war? You're talking about Germany.
Remember the SSR? Yeah, you remember the SSR when USSR was just one. So you're looking at Ukraine. All these countries are.
Yeah. I know.
Right. So we have to look at history. If we look at history in looking at what happened, is that, and I'm not gonna say too much because I'm living American right now. My infrastructure in Jamaica is not ready for me to live there as a certain lifestyle, Jody. You know, I might have to be your roommate. So I'm gonna be careful what I said. But
Vincenzo, where are you, Vincenzo? You say you're gonna burn a passport. Is it a Jamaican passport you're gonna burn?
Which passport is he burning? The Ukraine passport?
I don't know which.
Must be Ukraine. Ukraine or Russia.
Yeah. Okay. The ghost was passed away. Everybody was silent. What happened?
I think we're frozen.
The point is, America.
Can you hear me?
We can hear
Everybody's
hearing.
Okay.
America now got attack Russia.
No, that wouldn't be sensible.
America is not. So America is singled out. There is NATO. There's 30-something country that's in NATO, and the situation is that what's his name? Zelensky should have joined NATO before the war, and the fact that it's been maybe 20 years since the Russian have been saying they're gonna attack Ukraine, and if they were like, yeah, they're gonna do it every year. So this time they did not believe that they would be invaded because they say.
But they did it in 2014. They did it in 2014.
So every year they said that, we're gonna invade your country. So nobody believes it was gonna happen. But
the first one, Vita, was a test, you know. Putin is not. What I keep telling people is that Putin was head of the KGB. This man is very smart. This man is very strategic, right? He just don't get up and do things like that.
He doesn't bluff either.
He doesn't bluff. So when I see
he
people say that,
bluff.
America's frozen these accounts overseas, and that don't affect Putin none at all.
You know what Scotty
Right?
said? Scotty said that there's a Chinese warship are shown in Jamaica. Is that Jody? Is that true? Can you go outside, Jody, and look? Get a
What?
Jody, there's a Chinese warship.
Which
Jamaica.
part?
Go and take your binoculars and stand up on top of the rooftop.
I need a drone.
The Scotty
Scotty have a drone?
That watch you. It that watch you.
Ochi?
Scotty
Gaza,
said
you
Chinese.
always have the news, the first news to everything that's happening in Jamaica. How come you never tell me about that, Lester?
Why Scotty never join us to give us his information? Why is he afraid to join us?
I don't know. Scotty's always been afraid.
Why is Scotty afraid to speak, but he always writing stuff? Why is Scotty never ready to join us to let us know what he knows? Why is he in Ireland?
Scotty knows a lot, apparently,
Is it
but
Scotty
he's
in Ukraine?
afraid.
He must be in Ukraine because he's afraid to join us.
Nobody know. Bad. They'll set on dogs. I'm call out. I know that bad dog. But listen, guys. Listen. I want to thank you so much for joining tonight. But before I go though, there's a show which I have this tomorrow, and Jody, I think we're talking about it. About
Yeah.
the 11 plus with this lady, and if I can find the video of it. John Green, here it is. I think I have it here. Is it? Do I have it? But keep talking, guys, while I look for this.
I think Jody should join your show. Me, I've raised my kids, and I'm done. And what do they want? I've raised my kids, and I'm done with kids. And I think Jody should join that show to know how to raise her kids. And I will join the show, but I think it's more beneficial to Jody. I want nothing to do with kids anymore. Jody, no pun intended.
Vita, what you need to do in Vita, I pack a little emergency bag, a little get up and run bag. Because if Biden army ever hurt an ear from one of Russian soldiers,
Biden is asleep.
I think if he coughs, I think if Biden coughs, you have to hurry up and get on a boat. You can't even take a plane.
But what you guys don't
Washington
remember,
District
and I
of
said this
Columbia will be written off the map.
But I said, guys, you must remember that I am a military family. My son-in-law is in military. I have at least 20 friends in the military because we're a military family here in America. So my son-in-law right now, so I want you guys to understand that if there is a war, because will be impacted, and because I assume that you all are my friends, you also will be impacted. So remember that.
Come on your yard. Come on your yard. Me don't know what we have about impacted. Come on your yard.
Me don't know what you're saying, Lester, because you're not far now. You're the Netherlands.
No.
European countries.
So,
hello.
So guys, what I'm planning to do is that to make sure I stack up. You notice my crown is going light. So I'm making sure I'm going to stack up in crown, because when there is a war, there will be no crown. So I'm packing up in my crown, and I'm making sure all my documents are in my paperwork stock, like what Silburn is doing.
So what's going to be in your little pulley is your documents and crown. That's it.
Okay, right, and being that Jody, the nursing part of which we're gonna be like Florence Nightingale, so we will be doing that part. And Lester, I don't know where you're there, but
all right, guys, listen. Tomorrow night, watch this. Tomorrow night, this Sunday, I'm going to be having a guest, and she's going to be coming on, which is Miss Joan Green. There it is, Joan Green, author of All You Need to Know. Let me turn this down. Author of All You Need to Know about 11 plus. Author of All You Need to Know about 11 plus. And 11 plus handbook is an essential guide for both parents and children, specifically written to help parents and children to understand what the program of study entails, to stimulate the thought process. This will help with decision making. And looking forward to that interview with her, which is going to be this Sunday, the 27th of February at 9 p.m. That is this Sunday with Miss Joan Green. So, okay, look forward to you guys to come on tomorrow night, and
we'll join.
All the best. And that's tomorrow night.
We will support Jody as a mother.
Yes, yes. Because maybe, and Jody may have to come in and talk about the new essence of education, because the passion that you bring there, Jody, that means to say you might have to dig deep in and come up with some formulas as to how we take the
Yeah.
world further. Because that's
Jody,
what,
Yeah.
Jody, I'm a good baby father, you know. You can adapt me as a baby father, you know.
Aren't you a married man?
You
Jody,
see, no, no,
Jody,
you know, I think it's another one of that.
Hold on.
Jo-
you
Hold on.
already have
Isn't
7
Lester a
kids. How
married
you
man?
gonna
Why
fit it?
want me to own him as a baby father?
Hold on,
Jody, he have
Jody, you
7
know,
kids. He have 7 kids and 7 baby mothers, Jody. And you wanna
7
adapt
kids
him as a
and
baby.
7 baby mother, and you want one more baby mother?
what's the
that
guy
the
named?
But
important.
Jody, you won't be baby mother number 7 because you will not have kids for him.
What's Mariah Carey
Oh, me
ex-husband
can't be.
name
It
again?
can't be a baby
Mick
mother. Me
Cannon.
don't have children.
Mick
Is that
You
Mick
have
Cannon.
baby mother number 8 if you want.
Jody,
No.
Jody, I'm a good baby father, Jody. You can adapt me as a baby father. Everybody needs a good baby father. Even Silver. Even Silver.
Jody,
Well,
number
Team-
8 is too far.
I never knew that Jody.
Jody,
I did not even know that Jody
Even
have
not
a
number
team.
one.
Jody, I have a
Jo-
team here. Jay-Z,
I have a team. What
Team
things
Jody.
going on for Jody, man?
Jody will support you. I would be Auntie Rita for the kids. He would be baby father. Silver would be the godfather.
Yeah, I always been the Godfather, and I'm trying to say.
I send the bar from England.
Send the one?
Send the barrel from England.
I will call Barrel Man. I will get Barrel Man to come and give them talk.
Yeah.
Right. So listen, guys. Thank you so much for joining, and ladies and gentlemen, those on Instagram, and thank you for coming on and as well for that rapport.
Cheers.
Thanks
I
to
love you.
Mr.
I love you, Jamaican people. You
Yeah,
are.
it was-
Yeah.
I'm trying to tell me we so
Take care,
no.
guys.
Like
It was
Mark-
good.
like
Wait,
Mark
no,
Golden.
it
No.
was good of Joseph Patterson to join us tonight, and
Yeah.
I think we may need to have a show with him exclusively. Is that correct for Lester and himself?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
Silver, and I have a question. Silver, can you get Mark Golden?
Well, I've had him on the show already, and so we want an exclusive with Mark Golden one night. Yeah?
Maybe Jody can contact him. You know, you are paying people.
No,
you have
I've got.
connection.
We were supposed to try a thing to come on, but Jody. Well, we missed something. We missed something.
Oh God, I can't manage.
Did I miss something there? Did I miss
No,
something?
No.
Manage.
Vita was spot on.
What Vita
No.
said?
I can't manage.
What Vita said? What Vita said?
Silver,
Vita
don't worry about
said-
it. You are paying
I have to go and
people. Silver,
repeat.
don't worry about it. You're paying people. You will understand. Go ahead.
Don't worry. I will. When the show is done, I can always go replay and listen. I don't want to miss me. Jody, can you tell me what it was? What they said? Dion, can you tell?
Vita was accurately broadcasting you and Jody's political alignment.
No, what I
Okay.
said, Silver, was that if you could get Mark Goldberg, because maybe there's a possibility you have connection to him. That's all I said.
Okay.
And Jody too.
Okay. I get what you're saying. Well, it's good to have connection in all quarters. I mean, I've connected with Lester.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
no, if you know him,
I mean, I have connections everywhere. Of course, Vita. I am most certainly can.
Right.
Speed
No,
dial,
if you
speed
want
dial.
Andrew, and as we lovingly said, if you want Brogard, you know, so we can just touch Lester.
Exactly. One
If
phone
you
call
want
to next. No,
Brogard,
but
if you
I have
want
Juliet number.
Brogard, you know,
Me have Juliet Owen's number.
yeah. So if you want the first lady of the beautiful Jamaican country, we can just reach out to Lester. But I will have my
Scotty
people
from-
call. I will
is
have
Scotty
my
from-
people call your people. So just let me know if
Is
you need.
Scotty from Jamaica?
Scotty from you. Scotty's from.
What did
Ukraine.
Scotty say?
Scotty's from Ukraine.
Scotty, that's true. So is Scotty saying that about Jody?
What is Scotty saying?
What's Scotty said?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for fantastic.
Silver that done the show. Silver that
We
done
need
the show.
we need to find out what Scotty drinking, because
Every
obviously
woman
Scotty
needs a
drinking
good-
something.
Scotty said every woman needs a good body. It's
Every
true,
woman
he needs a
needs
good
a
body.
good body.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
Yes,
Everybody need
Jody.
good- everybody
Yes,
need good
Jody. Every
friends.
woman need a good friend, Jody. You want a
Everybody
buddy?
need good friends.
course.
Not everybody need
No,
good friends.
no, no,
It's
no.
important.
He talking about women. Silver.
Everybody need good friends. Do you agree?
Yeah, everybody
No,
need a good friend.
no,
Jody, do you want a
no.
buddy?
Always,
All right.
always,
Hold on.
Vita,
No,
always.
please don't ask Silver that. Please don't ask Silver.
I think.
Silver, don't drink. Silver, drink your water. I turn up the music. Silver, I turn up the music.
Great night, guys. I'll see you next Saturday.
Silver, turn
I
up the
think my
music.
drink is finished.
Jody,
My drink is finished.
Let's go, vape, girl.
Scotty,
We'll catch up after the show.
Yes,
Scotty,
Jody,
Vita?
we need to talk. We need to
We'll
talk.
catch up
say
after the
just
show, honey.
Scotty said it's a song. It's a song. That's what Scotty said. It's a song.
Oh, okay.
All right,
Okay.
Scotty. Anything you say, Scotty.
All right. But listen, Jody, have a good night. Peter, boom.
Good night, guys.
Lester, boom. Have a good one. All right.
It's always
out.
a pleasure.
See you next week. And of course, we don't know what's going to happen next week. We don't know what things are.
Okay, this is the peace sign.
Yes.
This is the peace sign. So I
Good
need
night,
everybody to
guys.
Peace for the world.
Yeah,
Peace.
peace. Jody,
Do you?
can do the
Would
peace,
you feel
Jody.
comfortable if I put up the peace sign?
We can do peace and we can do power. Whatever you want. Peace for the world,
Ah,
Jody.
peace.
We want the Jody. Peace
I'm
and
wearing
Silver.
peace colors
Well,
already.
Well, Mrs. Silver and the flames and stuff. Silver, you can't put up your fist, you know. It's okay, Silver.
Black power
Black
or
power.
peace.
Good.
It doesn't matter. We all here together.
Yeah, Black Power.
Peace.
Yes, it's Black History Month, right? Right, Silver?
Black
History
History
Month.
Month. So black power or peace. It doesn't matter. Just put
All right, guys. I get the
All right,
point.
and we-
I'm
and-
wearing
and
blue
we should-
already.
We should shower each other with love.
Shower
We-
each other with love. I agree, Lester. I love you all. And it's all
Love you, Vita.
love you too, boo.
Bye, Jody. Bye, Vita.
Good night, guys.
Take care, sir.
We're like Lord of Mercy.
Yeah. Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for coming on tonight, and a very, very interesting show. Thank you so much for Mr. Joseph Patterson for the United Independent Congress, the third political party in Jamaica, for sharing his views as to, what are some of the things that Jamaicans need to do to be prepared for war. He talks about being self-sustenance, and many different comments from persons also on Instagram as well. Instagram, of course, you only see me, but if you want to watch a show, you watch a replay, you can come on to YouTube, Silburn TV, SSTV. And Scotty, thank you so much, Michelle, as usual. Thank you for reminding me to speak up and to let the persons who comment so they can have a voice. Tammy Thelwell and everybody else that came on tonight. Remember to like and share and show the show as well. And tomorrow night, I'd like for you to join me when I have my guest, which is Miss Joan Green, on the late one, Success with 11 Plus, which is a book which she wrote to assist young people and for parents to come on and to watch it. And of course, you can watch it on the replay as well. That is so important. I think our vision for the book came during the course of COVID, whereby a lot of students actually not able to study properly because of the whole COVID factor, and she created this book as a way to help that. So that will be a very interesting show tomorrow. And Thursday night, as usual, in review. We don't know what's going to happen. We're going to follow through what's happening with Ukraine. But I tell you what, today I was watching all the different news, and it was just going on and going on and going on. It gave me a headache at one point. I just went to watch Kanye West and how he created his whole brand and a program which is on Netflix. And it's so important as to the support that he received from his family, from his mother, Dante or Danda, and it's so crucial about life, isn't it? Life whereby people around us, we don't know, we only see some aspect of them, but when we understand where they're coming from, it's really powerful. It's very powerful, you know. So anyway, have a good night. God bless you. I'm Silbert. Peace out until the next time.